can be a little more like plants.
It's a clear and present danger to the United States. Their mission, become a sleeper cell.
Literally, he's coming at you at 90 miles an hour, potentially to detonate a bomb.
At every stage, the whole thing could fall apart.
It was critical information, and we had to find it.
They're secrets for a reason.
It was spies versus spies.
Nobody is untouchable.
Declassified returns Sunday night at 9.
On the beautiful island of St. Lucia, only at Sandals can you stay at one resort and play around at all three. Play around wherever you want. Play around as often as you like. Dine around at 23 gourmet restaurants. Enjoy unlimited rounds on us. Why, you can even sleep in the round. Sandals Resorts in St. Lucia. Get 3 vacations for the price of 1. Call 1-800-SANDALS.
My daughter is coming back to the firm. That's the infamous Sydney.
We're total opposites with how we do the job. You're conservative, I wage war.
You're twisting my words.
No, sir, your words are twisted.
She's up under 2 years worth of work.
Well, do we want to settle or do we want to win?
You can channel all this passion that you have.
Companies are lying to us.
Objection!
You can't just silence the truth.
That was brilliant in there.
Bluff City Law, Mondays on NBC.
CNN Special Report, Weed 5, the CBD craze, Sunday at 8.
Tonight, more than 200 House Democrats are now backing the impeachment inquiry. But are voters on board? Well, it was announced yesterday. Miguel Marquez went to the swing state of Pennsylvania today to find out.
Quakertown Borough, PA, voted for the president in 2016. Today, some of his supporters aren't so sure.
I think he's crossed the line, but that's the way he is.
Todd Chiaradia voted for Obama twice, liked Bernie Sanders in 2016, then voted for Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton.
You reluctantly voted for the president in 2016, and in 2020, it's an open question for you.
Only because I didn't see a better opportunity there.
A chef at Quakertown's Carlton Cafe, Chiaradia says with impeachment, Democrats may be going a step too far.
Do you feel like it's overreaching right now?
I think so. I think they are. I think they want him out, I'm pretty sure.
Third-generation shoe store owner Ralph Morey became a Democrat in 2008 so he could vote for Barack Obama in the primary. He voted for Obama again in 2012. In 2016, he voted for Donald Trump. In 2020, he says, no way.
What is it about the president
the way he manages himself? And then that reflects on what our country's all about. And our country is better than the way we're being perceived as.
But he thinks impeachment will further divide an already hyper-partisan country.
I think it is ugly now, and I think we should focus on not being ugly.
Hardcore Trump supporter Rocky Bixel says Democrats will only harm themselves in going after the president.
In this town, there's a lot of people are turning because they say it's just stupid.
Quakertown is part of Bucks County in the vote-rich Philly suburbs. It narrowly supported Clinton in 2016. In New Hope, a Democratic stronghold, many voters here say impeachment, about time.
We have to show people that a president can't do these things and just get away with it.
I think that Democrats need to show some spine. I think that it's a good way of showing power and what's right and doing everything by the law.
So I have spoken to a lot of Trump voters, not only here in Pennsylvania, but across the Midwest and all those states that flipped from Obama in 2012 to Trump in 2016. I have never heard Trump voters who supported him in 2016 so open and candid about why they cannot support him in 2020. It is going to be a long, interesting year. Aaron?
It certainly is, and a fantastic report right on the front lines the day after. Thanks so much, Miguel. And Anderson starts now.
Good evening. We began last night's program noting the day's historic significance. Well, today is no different because we now have a rough transcript, not a verbatim transcript, provided by the White House of the President of the United States asking a foreign leader to investigate a U.S. political rival, Joe Biden. As far as we know, that has never happened in the history of the United States. Also, this afternoon, members of the House and Senate Intelligence Committees got their first look at the whistleblower complaint connected with the call. Then late today, reaction from the president. Now, we're going to talk about all of it in this hour, as well as in a special report with the Lead's Jake Tapper at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. But before we get into all the reaction, we want to focus on the call itself because it is so significant. The key points of it from July 25th, which is the rough transcript itself warns, again, is not verbatim. The president saying, I will say that we do a lot for Ukraine. We spend a lot of effort and a lot of time. And then after a brief digression, the president continues, quote, the United States has been very, very good to Ukraine. I wouldn't say that it's reciprocal necessarily because things are happening that are not good, but the United States has been very good to Ukraine. Then the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, replies, yes, you are absolutely right. Not only 100%, but actually 1,000%. Now, bear in mind that when this conversation is taking place, President Trump had already delayed $391 million in aid to Ukraine. $250 million of that was in military assistance, aid that was approved by Congress already, was being held up by the president. So that's what's dangling or hanging over President Zelensky's head, as he says, and I'm quoting again, I would also like to thank you for your great support in the area of defense. We are ready to cooperate. We are ready to continue to cooperate for the next steps. Specifically, we are almost ready to buy more Javelins, which are anti-tank missiles, from the United States for defense purposes. President Trump then replies, I would like you to do us a favor, though, because our country has been through a lot and Ukraine knows a lot about it. I would like you to find out what happened with this whole situation with Ukraine. They say CrowdStrike. He later adds, I would like to have the Attorney General call you or your people, and I would like you to get to the bottom of it. Now, CrowdStrike is the cybersecurity firm the DNC called in when its servers were hacked during the 2016 campaign. It's also at the center of a conspiracy theory that seeks to deflect blame from Russia for that hacking. Then the president asked for more help. The other thing, President Trump says, there's a lot of talk about Biden's son, that Biden stopped the prosecution. A lot of people want to find out about that. So whatever you can do with the Attorney General would be great. Biden went around bragging that he stopped the prosecution. So if you can look into it, it sounds horrible to me. And finally, President Trump says, I'll have Mr. Giuliani give you a call, and I'm also going to have Attorney General Barr call, and we'll get to the bottom of it. I'm sure you will figure it out. That is the heart of it. It's also all the president talked about beyond exchanging pleasantries with the president of Ukraine. There was no specific talk about current corruption in Ukraine, no talk of specific ongoing concerns the president claims to have about corruption, no information the president would have gotten from his intelligence services about current ongoing corruption in Ukraine. Just Biden. As we said at the top, a short time after the transcript of it came out, members of the two congressional intelligence committees got a look at the whistleblower complaint. Joining us now is a Democratic member of the House committee, Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi. Congressman, thanks so much for being with us. Obviously, I know there's a lot you cannot say at this point. What you read is a classified document. What can you say about the whistleblower's complaint that you read?
Sure. Thanks for having me on. First of all, I think that most of it should be declassified tonight, and it should be shared with the American public. I think transparency is absolutely essential here. But what I can say about the complaint is that it's thorough, it's careful, it's credible, it's consistent, and it raises a lot more questions than it answers, but it's obvious why the Inspector General, who, by the way, was appointed by the Trump administration, found it to be both urgent and credible enough to pass along to the DNI.
Can you say how much more there is in the original whistleblower complaint beyond what was laid out in the rough transcript that was released today? I mean, was it solely based on that conversation?
I can't get into the specifics of that particular complaint, but what I can say, Anderson, is that it talks about a lot more witnesses. It talks about more documents. It talks about more materials that have to be pursued to get to the bottom of exactly what transpired with regard to this national security situation.
Your colleague on the Intelligence Committee, Eric Swalwell, he was on CNN earlier saying that in the complaint, the whistleblower invokes, as you said, other witnesses to, in his words, disturbing contact that the whistleblower, he or she, disturbing conduct, I should say, that the whistleblower was alarmed by the number of people who knew what was going on and hadn't said anything. Can you say approximately how many other people did know what was going on?
It was a bunch. I'm sorry for being so imprecise.
I understand.
But I think that the main point, though, which I do want to hammer home, is that there are other witnesses here who need to be talked to and who need to, quite frankly, be interviewed or brought before our committee to understand the full extent of the misconduct here. I just want to say one other thing, which is that this whistleblower needs to be commended. He's courageous in coming forward, and for that matter, the Inspector General is also to be commended for his professionalism. You know, there's no incentive for him to shade his analysis in favor of forwarding this whistleblower complaint. If anything, telling the truth on the Inspector General's part puts his career in jeopardy as well.
I'm not asking, obviously, who this whistleblower is or what their position is. Do you know, after reading this, what position? Maybe you probably don't know their name, but do you know what position they hold or how they would have gotten this information?
No, and the Inspector General actually invokes a certain provision of the law which allows him to mask the identity of the whistleblower.
Because I asked that question because the president today has started doing it yesterday, but today started basically impugning the whistleblower, calling them a sort of so-called whistleblower, saying that, basically implying that they are a Democratic operative or just tangential to this entire event. Is there anything you read today that raises questions in your mind about the motivation of this whistleblower?
No, and actually the Inspector General does a very good job of we got to see the classified determination or analysis that the Inspector General performed on the whistleblower's complaint, and he himself made an independent judgment that it was both credible and urgent. And as you know, the Inspector General doesn't have a liberal or Democratic bias.
So just finally, what you just said about the Inspector General had looked into this whistleblower and the complaint and judged it worthy of moving forward. Does what the Inspector General has already done on, assessing this complaint and the names that the whistleblower has said are eyewitnesses or, have some information and should be talked to, is that essentially providing you roadmaps forward? I mean, specific people to talk to call in?
I think it's fair to say that he's definitely giving us some indications of further investigation that needs to be done. So I think that both the Inspector General and the whistleblower point us to other avenues for inquiry, for sure.
Congressman, I appreciate your time. By the way,
Yes, sir.
Does it make sense? You said you think this should be declassified.
Absolutely.
You're saying that could be easily done. There's just some things to remove.
Well, I think, look, there's certain appendices or certain materials that are classified in nature and sensitive that should probably be withheld. However, the vast majority of the material should be declassified immediately. And the fact that the White House has not done so just begs the question, why? Why do they not want us to see the full why do they not want the American people to see the full whistleblower complaint? Why do they not want the press to see the full whistleblower complaint at this point?
And just finally, the president, though the president has talked about this whistleblower, to your knowledge, I mean, would it be inappropriate if the president had been told the identity of this whistleblower?
I personally think so. I think that, quite frankly, given all that we know about how certain witnesses have been treated in different investigations, I think it's best for this whistleblower's identity to be shrouded at this point. I just want to say one last thing, Anderson, which is that, this is a national security